The sky above the battlefield was broken. Ships floated like dead shadows. Fire burned in the cold darkness of space, and silence pressed heavy against the ears of every survivor. Among the wreckage moved a single human soldier, his armor scratched, his breath heavy, and his eyes searching for life where there should have been none. He had seen comrades fall, enemies strike, and fleets collapse. But in that moment, he was not looking for orders or medals. He was looking for someone to save. And then he found her. She was lying against a broken wall of steel, her body covered in strange silver armor that glowed faintly like dying embers. Her chest rose and fell slowly, weak, and in her trembling hands she held a mask, black and alive, almost breathing. The soldier knelt beside her, his hands shaking, for he knew the shape of that armor. It was not human. It belonged to the enemy who had burned cities and shattered worlds. Yet her voice, soft and broken, cut through the silence. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling, "remove my mask. Let me be seen." The soldier froze, his heart racing. His training screamed at him to end her life, to finish the fight, to strike before she could strike him. Yet her words carried no hate, only pain, only a desperate wish. He looked around. The battlefield was quiet. Only smoke and sparks rose into the void. No command, no squad. No one to tell him what to do. It was only him, a human soldier, and a dying alien woman. Her mask glowed brighter as she clutched it. As if alive, pulsing with strange energy, he reached out and felt a shock run through his fingers. The mask resisted, as if it did not want to be removed, as if it feared the truth inside. "Why?" he asked quietly, his voice low. "Why should I help you?" Her eyes opened slowly, faint light inside them, and he saw not the cold glare of an enemy, but fear, sorrow, and something almost human. "Because," she whispered, her breath catching, "I do not want to die unseen." The soldier's chest tightened. Those words echoed in his mind. Unseen, unwanted, forgotten. He had seen soldiers die for honor, for victory, but never for the wish to be seen. He pulled his hand back, unsure, his thoughts racing. If he removed the mask, he could be unleashing a weapon. He could be breaking every rule of survival. Yet if he left her, she would fade, alone, her last words unanswered. The mask pulsed again, sending a wave of energy into the air, and for a moment he thought he heard voices, distant whispers, warnings, threats. Perhaps the technology inside was alive. Perhaps it was tied to her very soul. Her hand weakly gripped his wrist, her fingers cold and trembling. "Please," she whispered again, "let me be seen." His armor was heavy, his heart heavier. He thought of the men and women who had trusted him, of the orders he had followed, of the battles he had fought. But something in her voice broke through it all, something that told him this was not about war, not about victory, but about humanity itself. He looked at her, her body fragile, her breath shallow, and he saw more than an enemy. He saw a being clinging to life, to hope, to identity. And then the ground shook, explosions in the distance, enemy ships still burning but not gone. Time was slipping. He had to decide now. His hands reached for the mask, his breath deep, his voice quiet. "If I do this, there is no turning back." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, though pain filled her face. "That is all I ask." The mask pulsed again, resisting, strange lines of light spreading across its surface, like veins alive with power. He gritted his teeth, pulling, feeling the heat spread into his gloves, sparks dancing as the mask resisted. "Come on," he whispered, pulling harder, his muscles straining. And then the mask cracked. A sound like glass breaking echoed. The glow flickered, and her body arched as if in pain. For a moment he thought he had killed her. His heart stopped. Fear rushed through him. But then her hand gripped his arm tighter, her voice weak but clear. "Almost, please." The mask split further, fragments falling like ash. And beneath he saw a glimpse of skin, pale, fragile, not like the enemy soldiers he had known. Something different, something human. His breath caught, his hands shook, and the truth began to surface. The battlefield around them faded in his mind. The war, the destruction, the silence. All of it became background to this single moment. A soldier and a dying woman, a mask breaking, a truth waiting. Her eyes met his, weak but shining, and with her last strength she whispered, "See me." The mask shattered, and the story began. The mask lay in pieces on the cold floor, glowing fragments slowly fading. The soldier's breath was heavy, his hands trembling, and his heart refusing to calm. What he had just done felt like crossing a line he could never return from. The woman's face, now uncovered, was not what he expected. Her skin was pale with faint silver patterns running across it like scars of fire. Her features were soft, almost human, yet touched with something alien. Her eyes opened slowly, reflecting both pain and relief. You saved me," she whispered, her voice fragile, "though you may regret it." The soldiers stared at her, torn between confusion and fear. She looked human enough to awaken his sympathy, yet different enough to stir suspicion. Her body trembled. The strange silver veins across her skin pulsed with weak light, almost as if fighting to keep her alive. "What are you?" he asked, his voice low, his weapon still close to his hand. Her lips parted in a faint smile, though sorrow hid in her eyes. "Once, I was like you," she said softly, "but they changed me. They made me wear that mask so I would never be seen for what I am." The soldier's mind raced. The enemy was known for cruel experiments, twisting life into weapons. Could she be one of those? A hybrid, a prisoner of war turned into a tool. "You expect me to believe you?" he asked, though his tone lacked anger. It carried doubt, but also curiosity. "You already do," she whispered, her gaze piercing into him. "Or else I would already be dead." Her words struck him, and he knew she was right. He could have ended her life the moment he found her. But instead he had chosen to break her mask, to listen to her plea, to take a risk that went against everything he had been taught. The battlefield around them groaned. Fires still burned. Explosions echoed in the distance. But in that broken corner of war, there was only silence between them, silence filled with questions. "Why was the mask so important?" he asked finally, his eyes on the fragments glowing like dying stars. "It was more than a mask," she whispered, struggling to sit up. "It was a prison, a chain. It bound me to them. It fed on me, and it made me their weapon. Every breath I took was theirs. Every thought I had was controlled. But now," she touched her bare face weakly, tears glistening, "now I am free for the first time in years." The soldier felt a strange weight in his chest. Her words carried pain that no enemy could fake. Yet the danger was still real. What if she was lying? What if she was a trap? He looked into her eyes again, those eyes that glowed faintly with silver light. But behind that glow he saw something he had seen many times before, in humans who had suffered, in comrades who had bled, in children who had lost everything. He saw pain. "You need to leave," he said firmly, his instincts pulling him back to his duty. "If my squad finds you, they won't hesitate. They'll kill you without asking." Her hand reached for his arm, weak but desperate. "Then help me," she whispered. "Take me away from here, or everything I've suffered will mean nothing." He pulled his arm back, hesitation in his heart. "Why should I risk my life for you?" Her voice grew faint, yet sharp with urgency. "Because your world is not safe, because what they did to me is only the beginning, and because I carry knowledge that can save humanity." The soldier's breath caught. The battlefield felt smaller, the silence heavier. If she spoke the truth, then her survival could mean more than just pity. It could mean victory. He stared at her for a long moment, his mind torn between duty and instinct, between doubt and belief. And then the sound of boots echoed through the ruins, human soldiers, his squad. They were coming closer, their voices sharp, calling his name. Panic flashed in her eyes. She tried to rise, but collapsed, too weak to stand. "Please," she whispered urgently. "Don't let them see me, not like this." The soldier looked around, his heart pounding. If his squad found her, it would be over. She would be killed instantly, no questions asked. He grabbed her arm, lifting her despite her weakness, and pulled her into the shadows of the wreckage, his breath fast, his body tense. His squad's voices grew louder, flashlights cutting through the smoke, their footsteps echoing on metal. "Report in, soldier." "Are you alive?" one of them shouted. He pressed her close against the wall, his heart racing, her breath shallow against his chest, the mask fragments still glowing faintly on the ground nearby. A risk, a trace, a clue that could betray them. The squad drew nearer, unaware, and in that moment the soldier knew his choice had already been made. He was no longer just a soldier of war. He was the guardian of a secret that could either save humanity or destroy it. The soldier pressed himself deeper into the shadows, holding her weight against his chest. The sound of his squad's boots thundered on the broken ground. Beams of light swept through the wreckage, searching, hunting. Her breath was shallow, her body weak. Yet her hand clutched at his armor as if afraid he might let her fall. Her eyes, faintly glowing, stayed fixed on him, silently begging him not to give her away. One of his comrades shouted, "We found traces here. Stay alert." The beam of a flashlight passed dangerously close, catching the faint reflection of the mask fragments on the floor. The soldier's heart sank. He had to act quickly. He reached down, snatched the pieces of the broken mask, and shoved them into his pack. The glow dimmed inside, hidden but not gone. Moments later, the squad moved on, their voices fading into the distance. The danger passed, but the weight of his choice grew heavier. "You risked everything," she whispered, her voice soft. "Why?" He looked down at her, his jaw tight. "Because I need answers, and you're the only one who can give them." Her lips curved in the faintest smile, a fragile spark of hope, but then her expression darkened. "If I tell you the truth, you may wish you had left me to die." "Try me," he said, his voice steady though his heart pounded. Her eyes closed for a moment, as if gathering strength, then opened again with a quiet fire. "I'm not what you think. I'm not entirely alien. I am not entirely human. I am both, and I am neither." The soldier's body stiffened. The words struck him like a blade. His mind struggled to understand. "I was born human," she continued, her voice trembling. "I had a family, a life, a name, but they took me, they cut me apart, rebuilt me, mixed me with their own design. They made me a weapon, a tool. They erased who I was and forced me to wear that mask so I would never remember myself." Her fingers brushed her bare face, as if still shocked to feel it uncovered. Tears welled in her glowing eyes. "For years I looked into battles through that mask, killing, destroying. Yet inside I was screaming, unseen, unheard, until you broke it." The soldier's chest tightened. He had seen brutality in war, but this was something deeper. The enemy had not just conquered worlds. They had stolen lives, broken identities, turned humans into monsters and slaves. "Do you expect humanity to believe you?" he asked, though his tone carried less doubt now and more fear. "They will not," she admitted, sorrow heavy in her voice. "To them, I am enemy, corrupted, dangerous, but your gaze locked with his. You have seen me. You know I speak truth." The soldier looked away, the silence of the battlefield pressing against him, his mind torn. If she was telling the truth, then she carried secrets humanity could use, knowledge that might turn the tide. But if she was lying, she could destroy them all. "You said you have knowledge," he said finally. "What kind?" She closed her eyes, her voice weak but steady. "The locations of their hidden fleets, the weapons they have yet to unleash, the way their command links function, all of it is inside me. I was forced to be their tool, but I remembered, I learned, I escaped only because I hoped someone would listen." His breath quickened, the weight of her words heavy. If she carried such knowledge, then she was not just a survivor. She was the key to the war itself. But before he could speak again, she coughed, blood touched with silver spilled on her lips, her body shaking. "My time is short," she whispered. "I cannot survive long like this, unless I am trusted." The soldier's hands tightened on her shoulders. "Trusted by who?" "By you," she breathed, her voice breaking. "You are the first to see me, the first to hear me. If you let them kill me, everything I hold dies with me. If you save me, humanity has a chance." The soldier's thoughts raced. Trust her and risk betrayal, or leave her and lose a weapon against the enemy. Both choices carried death. Both carried weight. Then, from the distance, a sharp voice cut through the silence. "Soldier, report your position." His comm crackled. His squad was searching, closing in again. He looked down at her, pale and trembling, yet burning with a fragile fire, and he knew the decision could not wait. Her eyes searched his face, desperate and pleading. "Please do not let me fade unseen." The soldier exhaled slowly. The war, the orders, the fear, all of it pressed down on him. Yet his choice was already written in his heart. He would keep her secret. He would protect her. And for the first time in his life, he would fight not only for humanity, but for something beyond war. And in that moment, as distant engines roared and the battlefield shook again, the soldier realized the truth. The war was no longer just between humans and aliens. It was between humanity's compassion and humanity's fear. And compassion had just won. The soldier moved quickly through the ruins, the woman's weight pressing against him, her steps weak, her breath shallow. The fires of war still burned behind them, smoke rising into the dark sky, every sound reminding him that discovery meant death. They found shelter inside a broken cargo bay, the steel walls cracked, the lights flickering faintly. Here at least they had shadows to hide in. He lowered her onto a piece of broken plating, her eyes closing for a moment as if she feared even to breathe. "You should have left me," she whispered faintly. "Your world does not want me. Your leaders will not trust me. To them, I will always be the enemy." The soldier crouched beside her, his jaw tight. "Maybe you're right, but if you carry what you claim, I cannot ignore it. Humanity cannot afford to ignore it." Her eyes opened, weak but glowing. "Then you choose to stand with me?" "I choose to listen," he said firmly, though doubt still twisted inside him. For a moment silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant thunder of engines in the sky. Then she spoke, her voice steady though frail. "The fleets you fight are not their true strength. They hold back, waiting, watching, preparing something worse. And if they succeed, your world will not survive." He leaned closer, his voice sharp with urgency. "Then tell me, were they preparing?" She coughed, her body trembling. "A convergence, a storm of ships hidden in the dark between stars. They gather fuel, weapons, new soldiers made like me, twisted between human and alien. They plan to unleash them as living weapons, not just to kill, but to break your spirit, to make humanity fear its own reflection." The soldier's blood ran cold, his mind racing. If her words were true, then every battle so far had been nothing but a shadow, a distraction. "Where are they?" he demanded, his voice low but fierce. Her lips curved faintly, as if she had waited long for someone to ask. "I know the coordinates locked inside me. I was forced to guide their fleets, but I memorized what they thought I could not. I can lead you there." The soldier sat back, the weight of her words heavy. If he brought this knowledge to command, humanity could strike first. But he knew the truth too well. They would never trust the source. They would never trust her. "You understand," she said softly, reading his silence. "They will never listen unless you stand with me, unless you fight for my voice." Before he could answer, the comm in his ear crackled again. "Soldier, report in. We are closing your signal. Where are you?" He shut it off, his chest tight, cutting himself away from his squad, from his orders, from his chain of command. In that moment, he chose to walk a path alone. "You just turned your back on your own people," she whispered, her tone both fearful and amazed. "I turned my back on fear," he replied, his eyes hard, "and I chose to trust you." Her gaze softened, tears glistening. "Then you are the first to truly see me." The silence broke suddenly, the ground shaking as a shadow fell across the ruined cargo bay. A scout ship passed overhead, its lights piercing through cracks in the metal, the hum of its engines sharp. She gripped his arm, panic flashing. "If they find me, they will not take me alive. They will kill us both." The soldier raised his weapon, his breath steady. "Then we don't give them the chance." Moments later, enemy drones descended, metal claws scraping, their red eyes scanning. The soldier opened fire, his shots ringing through the bay, sparks flying. One by one the machines fell, but more kept coming. Through the chaos, the woman pressed her hands against the ground, silver veins across her skin glowing brighter. The wreckage trembled, and with a cry she unleashed a burst of energy that shattered the last drone, the light burning from her like a storm. When silence returned, the soldiers stared at her in shock, her body trembling, her strength nearly gone. What was that?" he asked. She turned to him, her eyes dimming. "The weapon they built inside me, the part of me I cannot control, the part that will kill me if I use it too long." The soldier clenched his fists, anger boiling inside, not at her, but at what had been done to her. "Then we will find another way. You will not die for them again." Her lips trembled into a faint smile. "You say that as if you believe it." "I do," he said firmly. "Because if humanity is to win, it can not only fight with guns and ships, it must fight with trust, with compassion, with choices like this." Her gaze lingered on him, filled with both hope and sorrow, and she whispered, "Then maybe humanity truly is stronger than they fear." As the smoke cleared and silence returned, the soldier knew what came next. He would lead her into the heart of humanity, into the command halls that would never trust her. He would fight not only against the enemy fleets, but against the walls of his own people. And as he lifted her once more, carrying her weight as if it was his own, he realized something that chilled him to his core. The war ahead was not just for survival. It was for the soul of humanity itself. The soldier led her through the ruins, every step heavy with risk, every shadow a possible enemy. Behind them the battlefield smoldered. Ahead of them lay uncertain ground. She leaned against him, her strength fading, her silver-lit veins dimming like a dying flame. For hours they moved without rest, until the broken horizon revealed the faint lights of a human outpost. The soldier stopped, his chest tight. He had hoped for safety, yet now he felt only fear. How would they see her? How would they judge her? "You cannot take me there," she whispered, her voice weak but sharp. "Your commanders will not listen. They will kill me before I can speak." The soldier stared at the outpost, its watchtowers burning with searchlights, soldiers moving like shadows across the walls. She was right. They would never give her a chance. But he had made a promise. He had chosen to protect her, and he would not break it now. He guided her into a hidden path beneath the old wreckage, a tunnel carved from stone and steel. And for a moment he thought they had escaped the eyes of the watch, but then a voice echoed from the shadows. "You should not have brought her here." The soldier spun, weapon raised. His squad stepped out from the darkness, rifles aimed, eyes cold. Their leader stepped forward, his voice heavy with command. "You broke orders, you hid an enemy, and now you bring her to our gates." The soldier's grip tightened, his voice low. "She is not what you think. She carries knowledge. She can help us win." The leader's eyes narrowed. "She is a weapon made by them, and you are a fool for believing otherwise. Hand her over." The woman clutched the soldier's arm, her body trembling, her eyes wide with fear. "Please, don't let them take me back." The squad advanced, their rifles steady, and the soldier felt the world close in. His comrades, men and women he had fought beside, now stood against him, ready to strike him down for the choice he had made. "Stand aside," the leader ordered, his voice sharp, "or we will put you down with her." The soldier raised his rifle, his heart burning. "If you fire, you'll have to kill me first." Tension crackled in the air, weapons aimed, fingers on triggers, and for a moment it seemed the squad would open fire, but then a shadow fell across them. The ground trembled, and from the skies descended enemy hunters, black ships cutting through the smoke. The leader cursed, his voice breaking the silence. Damn it, they followed her. The drones poured into the tunnel, red lights burning, claws reaching. The squad opened fire. The soldier fought beside them, not against them, bullets tearing through steel and sparks, the air filled with screams and fire. But then it happened. A drone broke through, claws striking toward the soldier, and before he could react, the woman threw herself in front of him, her body taking the blow. The silver veins across her skin flared like lightning, the energy bursting outward in a wave that shattered the drones and lit the tunnel with blinding light. When the light faded, silence returned, smoke curling in the air. The squad lay stunned, The wreckage of drones scattered like ash, and the woman collapsed into the soldier's arms. Her breath came slow, her eyes dim. I couldn't let them take you, she whispered weakly. The soldier shook his head, panic in his chest. Why would you do that? You're dying. Her lips curved into a faint, broken smile. Better to fade in your arms than to be dragged back into theirs. The soldier held her tighter, his eyes burning. No, you're not dying. Stay with me, stay. She lifted her trembling hand, touching his face softly, her silver blood staining his armor. Listen, remember, the coordinates. I told you, they must not be lost. Her hand fell, her eyes closing, her body trembling as life slipped away. The squad leader lowered his rifle slowly, his eyes filled with something not cold, but heavy. She saved us, all of us, he said quietly. Perhaps you were right. The soldier's chest ached, his mind screaming. The war still raged above them. But in his arms she grew weaker, fading, her sacrifice a fire that burned brighter than any weapon. He whispered into her ear, desperate, broken, "You will not be forgotten, you will be seen." Her lips parted in the faintest whisper, "Then my life was not in vain." And with that, her strength fell silent. The soldier knelt in the ruins, cradling her body as the war thundered outside. Betrayal and sacrifice burned into his soul, and he knew the battle ahead would never be the same. The soldier stood in silence, her body still in his arms, the weight of her sacrifice heavy. Yet her final words echoed in his mind, the coordinates, the hidden stronghold, the secret she had carried through pain and torment. He knew what had to be done. The squad leader approached slowly, his rifle lowered, his voice quieter than before. If what she said is true, then we have only one chance. We must strike them before they unleash their storm. The soldier nodded, grief burning inside him. Then we take the fight to them. Her body was placed into a stasis pod. Fragile, but preserved, her silver veins dim in the glow of the machine. The soldier refused to let her be left behind. She would not be abandoned in ruins, not after all she had given. The command center roared with activity when they returned. The coordinates unlocked from her memory brought shock and fear to every officer. Reports flew across the room, screens lighting up with maps of hidden fleets, entire armadas waiting in silence beyond the stars. We must strike first. The general barked, his voice fierce. If these fleets launch, Earth will burn. Arguments filled the air, voices clashing. Some called it madness. Others called it the only hope. But through it all the soldier stood silent, his gaze fixed on the pod where she lay, her breath weak but present. When the decision was made, the order was given, humanity would gather its last ships, its last strength, its last courage, and hurl it all into the dark. One battle to decide everything, one last stand. The fleets rose from Earth and its colonies, engines burning bright, hundreds of ships carrying thousands of lives, men and women who knew they might never return. The soldier stood among them, his heart heavy but his purpose clear. He watched over her pod in the med bay of the flagship, the glow of her face faint, her lips barely moving as if caught in dreams. "Stay with me," he whispered. "You must see the end." The enemy's stronghold was a storm of shadows, ships hidden among shattered moons and drifting asteroids, their numbers far greater than human command had feared. The moment humanity entered, alarms howled, weapons ignited, the war began. The void lit up with fire, beams of energy cutting across the black, ships exploding into dust, cries of soldiers echoing across comms. The soldier felt every loss as a weight pressing deeper into his chest. Yet he fought, guiding his squad through the chaos, every shot, every strike, carrying her memory with him. Then the flagship shuddered, explosions tearing through its hull. Enemy cruisers pressed closer, and in the med bay alarm screamed, the stasis pod flickered. The soldier rushed to her side, fear clawing at him. Her eyes fluttered open, faint light returning. "Where are we?" she whispered, her voice weak. "In the heart of the storm," he said, gripping her hand. "Your knowledge brought us here. Now we fight." Her gaze wandered to the screens, showing the endless battle, her lips trembling. They will not stop. Not unless I finish it. No, the soldier said quickly, shaking his head. You've given enough. You will not burn yourself again. She looked at him, her eyes soft, sorrow and strength within them. I was made to destroy, but if I must burn to save, then let me choose it this time, not them. The ship shook violently. Enemy fire tearing across its shields. Chaos filled the air. And then she pulled herself from the pod, her body weak, but her veins glowing bright once more. The soldier tried to hold her back, but she pressed her hand against his chest, her touch gentle. You gave me a chance to be seen. Now let me give you a chance to live. She walked to the control chamber, every step heavy, her silver light growing brighter. Officers turned in awe and fear. The general shouted, "What is she doing here?" But the soldier blocked their path, his voice fierce. She is our only hope. She reached the main systems, her glowing veins connecting with the ship's core. Light poured from her body, merging human steel with alien design. The flagship roared alive with new strength. Cannons ignited, shields reforged, the tide of battle shifted. Her cry echoed through the halls, pain and power blending. The enemy's command ship faltered as her energy tore through their link, entire fleets collapsing without guidance, their storm breaking apart. The battlefield filled with human cheers, voices of soldiers shouting in hope. The tide had turned, humanity had struck back. But the soldier's joy was drowned by fear. He rushed to her side, her body shaking violently, her glow fading. She collapsed into his arms once more. Her voice was faint, trembling. Did we win? He held her close, his heart breaking. Yes, you saved us all. You saved humanity. Her eyes closed, her lips curving into the faintest smile. Then it was worth it. The soldier gripped her tighter as the flagship carried humanity's victory across the stars. Yet in his arms, he felt her slipping, her light fading, her sacrifice burning brighter than any victory. And as the battle ended, he realized the war had given humanity a future, but it had also taken from him the one who had shown its true strength. The battlefield was silent at last. The enemy fleets broken, their command shattered. Debris floated across the stars like a graveyard of steel and fire. Humanity had survived, against all odds, against the storm that was meant to erase them. On the flagship, soldiers cheered, voices echoing through the halls, tears and laughter mixed. They called it victory. They called it hope. Yet for the soldier who carried her in his arms, it felt like neither. Her body was light against him, her glow fading, her breath shallow. The silver veins that had burned with power were dim now. Almost gone, he laid her down gently in the quiet corner of the med bay, the chaos of war distant behind the closed doors. Her eyes opened weakly, finding his face. A faint smile touched her lips. "It is over, isn't it?" she whispered. He nodded, his throat tight. "Yes, we won. Humanity is safe because of you." Her hand trembled as it reached for his, her fingers cold but determined. "Not because of me," she said softly. "Because of you, because you saw me, because you chose to listen when no one else would." The soldier's chest ached, his eyes burning. "I would do it again, every time." She breathed slowly, her gaze drifting to the stars beyond the cracked window. "For so long I lived as a weapon, unseen, unheard, but in the end I was seen, I was human again, even if only for a moment." Her words pierced him deeper than any wound. He held her hand tighter, desperate to keep her anchored. "Stay with me. Please, there's still time. We can save you." Her lips curved into a faint smile, sorrow and peace blending. "No, my time is done. The mask they gave me kept me alive, twisted but alive. Without it, my body cannot last, but I do not fear it now." The soldier shook his head, his voice breaking. "You deserve more than this. You deserve a life, not just a memory." Her eyes softened, tears glistening. "Then promise me, remember me, tell them my story, not as an enemy, not as a weapon, but as someone who wanted only to be seen." He bent his head close, his voice trembling. "I promise, I will never let you be forgotten." She exhaled slowly, her last strength leaving her body, her voice fading into a whisper. Then, "I am finally free." Her hand slipped from his, her body stilled, her eyes closed with peace, and the faint silver glow faded into nothing. The soldier sat in silence, the med bay cold around him. His comrades stood at a distance, none daring to speak. The general lowered his head, not in command but in respect. They all knew they owed their lives to her. Later, when the fleets returned to Earth, when banners of victory were raised, when leaders declared humanity unbroken, the soldier stood alone on a quiet field, her stasis pod lowered into the ground. No mask, no chains, no weapon, only her face at rest. He spoke softly as the earth closed around her. "You are seen, you are remembered, and your sacrifice will not fade." Above him, the stars shone brighter than ever, the same star she had looked at in her final moments. And in their light he felt her presence, not as a weapon, not as an enemy, but as a part of humanity. And so the story of soldier and the woman he chose to save became more than a tale of war. It became a memory carried by every survivor, whispered in the halls of command, told among the soldiers who had fought beside them, a reminder that humanity's strength was not only in ships and weapons, but in compassion, in the courage to see beyond fear. The soldier lived on, scarred by grief, but driven by purpose. Every battle he fought afterward carried her name. Every choice he made carried her memory, and though she was gone, she remained a light inside him. Her life had faded in his arms, but in that fading she had given him something greater. She had given him a reason to fight, not only for victory, but for the soul of humanity. And in the silence of the stars, he knew she was finally free, finally seen, and finally remembered.